Hey Sims, do you write your own stuff when you play, or do you just do covers? What do you like to do?
These days, it's mostly just writing my own stuff, man. With the 6-month-old at the house, I don't gig and tour very much anymore. So I just go record some of this stuff in the studio and release it. That's about all I get to do these days.
Nice.
Stuck to playing nursery rhymes now.
So thankfully, we exposed my son to like Jason Isbell and Susto and Rustin Kelly early, so I don't have to listen to like Wheels on the Bus. But we do daddy sing along for an hour every night with cool
That's awesome.
Americana songs. It's so much fun.
That is
Nice. I used to put on like Bach and the cello suites and some of those things and just put my boys in, and I just stand and swing with them and just let them listen to classical. And then of course you got to have some blues and some blues funk in there. And so that's what I did, a lot of that stuff with my boys when they were young. No one's ever asked me to play a musical instrument ever.
Sims, I don't know
I'm
if we
sure.
talked about it. I play too. I don't much anymore, but I think we might have mentioned it on the last call.
What do you play? I don't remember us talking about that, and that's a shame.
Yeah, I write. I do a lot of songwriting, and I play guitar. I play classical piano, but it's been a while.
Oh,
All right. Well, we're gonna have to start a band, call it the Short-Term Disabilities, and release an album.
Sounds like a really good start.
Melanie, do you play anything?
No, but I'll be your first fan.
There you go.
Listen. You need an
The
audience
only
member.
fan.
Yeah.
No, that's not me. Let's not associate my name with that.
My mom made me play the piano when I was little, like up until the 8th grade, and I hated every second of it. And I promptly forgot everything I ever learned. And then I wish I could play the piano now. I love it. It's one of my favorite instruments. Love it. Can't play it though.
Yeah, I wish I would have taken it more seriously too growing up. Oh, now we're getting some ideas for band names in the chat. I love that. The Benefits Blues.
Yes.
That's probably better than the Short-Term Disabilities. I feel like
Probably.
that won't play well to a large market.
That's awesome.
I'm stealing that. When I worked for Unum Group in Colonial Life, we had a house band, and it was called the Short-Term Disabilities.
Way.
Benefit
Nice.
Administrators.
All right, well, guys, it is 12:01. I think people probably joined to hear us talk about communication rather than our band ideas. So we'll get, oh yeah, good call, Jen Lugers. Hopefully no one abbreviates short-term disabilities to the STDs. That's not safe for work, I don't think. So we're here, this is our Terra Talk, our July Terra Talk, and our focus is, it's not them, it's you. And honestly, that title is coming across a little bit kind of in your face, and it's not meant to be rude. It's just that companies need to realize that our traditional ways of communicating are broken, right? There's too many age groups, technologies, expectations, et cetera. And it really is our responsibility as the company to figure out how to engage our population. And so at Workterra, because we are a benefits administration and navigation company, we get the question asked quite frequently of how do we increase our engagement, right? How do we engage people? What do we do? So our goal is really just to share some of our partners and our preferred vendors who actually rock at communication, and see how we can share these resources with other people. So let's do some brief introductions here real quick. And my slides are not going, there we go. So just starting from the top, here are our panelists today. If you guys would go ahead and introduce yourselves to everybody.
For sure. So I'm Sims. I currently lead sales and business development for Perks and have been in the employee engagement and enrollment business for about 10 years. If you couldn't tell by our band talk, I'm a professional musician on the side, just doesn't pay as well as the insurance biz. Glad to be here with y'all.
And I'm Madison Grigsby. I can also attest to the fact that I am a side hustle songwriter, but generally day to day, I'm in the benefits and communications and employee experience space. I'm with Gallagher and worked with our clients to really understand their strategic objectives and develop communications and a plan going forward to make an impact. I'm also an avid dog lover, and I'm a runner as well.
And my name's Melanie Wurzberger. I'm one of the founders of Shaka, which is a software platform helping distributed teams really keep human connection at the center of their workforce. But I'm here today because I've done a lot of research on the future of work and the next generation of the workplace, and what those employees want. So I'm excited to share that with you all today. My interesting fact would probably be that before y'all got on today, we were talking about Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is where I'm from, and that it's the city of five smells as known by its residents.
That's a weird city title, but yes. Thank you all for joining us. As we get started, I want to kind of set the scene for us as panelists and then everyone who's participating online. We want this to be an interactive conversation where you can see that you can participate via the chats, ask us questions as we're going along. Darcy Shaw is behind the scenes. She's the magic maker making all of this happen. And she's going to be kind of communicating what's coming in through the chat channels, your questions and those types of things. So to warm us all up, I'm curious, where's your all's next dream vacation? Would you go to the beach, the mountains, or the moon? Any thoughts there?
Are all these like realistic? But I recently read like you can pay to go to outer space now. It's like $250,000 is the starting price.
Why don't you take us all, Melanie? We'll go on a fun trip together.
Someday.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, feels like that's not going to be my option, but I love the mountains.
Perfect, exactly. So that's a good warm-up question. One that's a little more focused on why we are here today. Is employee engagement matters because? Is it 71% of people who can work remote do? 60% of companies lack a long-term communication strategy? Or is it that only 13% of companies use their intranet on a given day? Or that 74% of employees feel they are out of the company loop? What do we feel here?
I feel like C is a big contender for sure, based on conversations I have.
Yeah, lots of D's coming in the chat.
Yeah, I feel like he is so true, and I'm one of the founders. Like, I should be in the loop.
Well, actually, I kind of gave you guys a little bit of a trick question here. The answer is all of the above, right? And that's exactly why we have this panel together today, because we want you guys to learn from the best. And so we have these panelists here. They're going to really share their niche, their experience with what they do. And so I really want to kick it off. Madison, I want to pass it over to you and start to really kind of ask the question, why aren't good benefits enough to create a competitive advantage?
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you who joined late, I'm Madison Grigsby. I work with Gallagher. I'm a director on our communications team. And we are passionate about this topic. So it's interesting because the word in itself has the word benefit, right? And when we think about things that are beneficial in our lives, they add value. They are something that matters because we get something from it. And unfortunately, there's this disconnect now with our benefits that we're offering and investing so much money in as employers and the perceived value of actually being beneficial with our employees. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. Here we go. Yep. So the first is that I think it's the way that we're sort of the cadence that we're communicating about our benefits. Employees need to even know they exist, right? First of all. And so there needs to be that awareness built. And then there has to be a level of understanding and then ultimately empowerment around benefits and what's on offer from the employers. That said, the graph on the left, if anyone's taken statistics, you'll know this is a bell curve. So that graph on the left is too often how we're approaching our communications around benefits. It's nothing for the majority of the year, say January through August, and then it's everything. We're inundated with communications. A lot of it's jargon, a lot of it's hard to understand. Seldom is it anything that's actually mattering at that moment in time. I mean, it all of course matters, but really we need it in May when something happens and we need to know what medical benefits we have. So we're communicating in this way that's sort of just this spiked level of communication at one point in time and expecting that to really make an impact and have employees value it, right? And retain talent based on it. But what we need to be moving toward is what we call an evergreen benefits experience. We need to be having communications, making it a conversation all year round that has different educational campaigns throughout the year, or different nudges that are really bringing it back to employees' minds, so that that consistency of communication is going to help them remember it and ultimately understand it and know where to go to get more information as and when they need it. We also want to make it as relevant as possible. And I think that is unfortunately a really big miss for a lot of employers right now. We live in an age and an era of everything being personalized, right? We've got my 4-year-old nephew is talking to Alexa about showing the Grinch video, and Alexa knows what to do. And so we really need to bring that personalization into the benefit space and think about how we can meet employees where they are, whether that's physically or on a phone or whatever it may be, whether they're at a manufacturing site or in front of a computer. Think about that strategically, and then also consider how you can get as personal as possible with their benefits information. So is there a way that you can target certain groups with things that you know are priorities for them, or create some sort of maybe a subscription center where they can pick and choose what they want to view, or they log in and they see their personal benefits information. These are all ways that you can make it more relevant, and you're going to ultimately build that engagement. And then alongside that, if you will go to the next slide, we're also bringing in a conversation beyond just benefits, but we're really seeing that what employees value and see as beneficial goes beyond just the typical offerings of medical, dental, vision, all of those things that we historically have heard a lot about, which are really important. But we're looking at all of these influencers of what we now call employee experience, that's looking at the whole life cycle and what it really feels like to work at an organization. I won't touch on all of these, but the one I do want to draw your attention to is around that purpose, strategy, and culture. We are seeing about 10 times, an employee is about 10 times more likely to leave an organization due to toxic culture compared to compensation. So just really weaving in your value, your culture, your DEI, ESG, all of these things that employees are really starting to value, weave that into your communications and tell your employees why you're offering these benefits, your support of them, your desire for their well-being, things like that's really going to resonate with employees. So with that, I will go ahead on that culture note. I'll go ahead and move to another poll question, and that's on the next slide. So get ready. What word best describes your company culture from these words? And if you have a different word, feel free to add it in the chat. Work appropriate, I guess I should say. But we've got family, isolated, party, cutthroat, and mission driven. So we'd love to hear from you guys the responses. Looks like we're getting a lot of family and mission driven. That's awesome. I love that. Lots of ease.
That's awesome. I was hoping, my boss, Ben, would chime in with C, party. That would be a fun place to work.
Well, appreciate everyone's feedback. Yeah, it looks like, oh, there you go. You got your party. Awesome. Well, with that, I know our other panelists are going to be talking a little bit about what we've touched on, but Melanie, would love to kind of hear from you about your thoughts on the generations. And the question is, how do we communicate in a way that gets younger staff, which we know is something we're all thinking about right now, excited to learn about their benefits?
Yeah. Thank you, Madison. For those of you who are joining late, I'm Melanie Wurzberger. I'm one of the founders of Shaka. And here at Shaka, we really looked at all the changes that have gone on in the world of work in the past 2 years that created pains in the butt for HR and kind of took away from that human experience for employees who are working remote. But alongside that, we really focused in on the future of work, and I've done research with thousands of Gen Zers and even wrote an ebook on it. And I get to share some of that with you today. So I have a fun question to start it off is, how old do you think the eldest members of Gen Z are today? If we could pull up my poll question, I don't want you to Google it, but the options are A, 26, B, 22, C, 19, or D, 16. How old is Gen Z turning this year?
22. It's my guess.
Getting lots of A's in here.
Yeah, we are. People are on to this. So the correct answer is 26A. Different studies will put the cutoff at slightly different years. But the most common barrier for Gen Z is they were born in 1996 or 97, and that's the start of Gen Z. So Madison's question was, how do we get these young employees excited about their benefits? And after my research, I've lovingly named this generation the one-of-a-kinders. This is an extremely individualistic generation, and that doesn't mean they're selfish or self-centered. It means that they really admire being one of a kind. And so each of my slides today are going to have an action item and then a couple do's and don'ts, because I hate when I attend a session like this and walk away with nothing that I can implement. So hopefully my easy actionable item for you on this point is, you're going to want to review your benefits communications this year and ensure that your employees feel like their benefits plan is shaped just for them. Use words like unique and built for you when describing their plan options. And also remember that your youngest employees aren't going to appreciate a town hall style meeting where you describe to everyone all at once their benefits options. The more you can personalize your communication and make it more one-on-one within your bandwidth is going to be meaningful. Another thing that Gen Z appreciates is very clear guidelines. My research found that 83% of Gen Zers prefer to have clear expectations, procedures, and guidelines. So build that checklist for them and deliver it to them, and don't communicate these expectations solely via email. Unfortunately, another piece of my research found that this generation is replying to emails and even reading them quite a bit less. They have an 8-second attention span. So try to use Slack and Teams as much as you can and reach them in different ways. They're also a very financially savvy generation. This is like, if you walk away with anything you remember from me, remember this. This generation remembers, they were old enough to remember the impact of the 2008 financial crisis on their families, on their friends' families. They had apps and tools at their fingertips from the age 14 where they could online bank, invest, budget. They think about the numbers. So by calculating the monetary contribution of the benefits that you're offering and showing them that dollar amount, it's going to help you retain employees. It's going to help them not look at other companies' salaries and think, dang, I'm missing out. So just remind them like how much it would truly cost for them to go sign up for a plan like this on their own, and give them that dollar amount.
Wow.
My last point today is to consider mental health. So 87% of Gen Zers said that it's important that their company values their physical and mental health. So my action item for you is to go look at your messaging and see if it genuinely communicates that you care about your employees' well-being, which I'm sure is why you got into your job. Like, that is the reason this whole season is about, is you care about their well-being. And if the packages that your company offers can't include very many mental wellness benefits, maybe explore some other perks that you can offer that do support that area of their life. Because unfortunately, a study done by AECF found that Gen Z is the most mentally weak generation. Only 45% of them report having good or excellent mental health, which is 11% lower than millennials even. So it's going to become more of a conversation for you as you go into serving the younger generation. And my other do item is do make sure to mention that your employees should be utilizing their vacation and finding work-life balance as part of their benefits. I say this because the number one benefit Gen Z cares about from their employers doesn't have to do with insurance. It has to do with work-life balance. So if you have an entire conversation around benefits and don't once mention work-life balance, you're going to have failed at your overall mission of delivering what they want. So that's all I have for you today, but I know that everyone on the panel today has worked alongside young employees new to the workforce. Did I miss any key points that you all have observed?
So I have two questions. One, you talk about they are very financially savvy, but I saw an article just this morning that said their expectations are like 50K over a standard expectation when it comes to salary. And then my second question was, you were talking about mental instability. What is a cause of that mental instability? So maybe we can't answer both of those huge questions here, but those were two things that stood out to me.
Yeah, I think your first point is very interesting. There's a lot of first-time employees that are asking for 100K in their job interview. And I think that I actually think the answer to both of your questions kind of comes with the presence of internet and accessibility of information in their lives. They see other people with that title making that money, and they will ask for it because they are achievers. They're going to reach for as much money as they can. So by outlining some of those other values that you give them, like quantify how much vacation time is worth for them, quantify those benefits, it can maybe help offset that ambition or what might feel like greed when you're in the interview process. And yeah, there's lots of theories on that mental wellness conversation. Some people say that they're just the first generation to feel comfortable to speak about it, and the millennials kind of opened that door, and so them having more self-awareness about their mental health has changed it. But others say it's also an issue of social media and the internet.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Great responses. Much more time will be needed to invest in those, but thank you.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Sims. I'm excited to hear him speak about getting employees engaged year round instead of just that 25 minutes, kind of like Madison mentioned. How do you make that more holistic throughout the year?
For sure. So for those of you that missed my fantastic introduction earlier, I'm Sims. I lead business development and sales for Perks, and I'm focused on our SaaS platform that serves as a hub for all of your benefits, including your work-life balance benefits like time off and anything that you do for your employees, and then also serves as a tool to engage employees year-round through a multitude of types of touches, not just one. So I'm going to answer your question, Melanie, with another question. And that is, what % of people want to work from home at least one day per week? Understanding this is going to help set the stage for what I'm going to talk about for the rest of our time together. So what do you guys think?
Oh, a lot of the chats are coming in C, 86.
I think it's C.
A's,
but
99.
who would the 14% be? Might be the Gen Zers.
Could be. Could be. Man. All right, I think you guys are on it. So the answer here is 86%. And this is important because this doesn't mean these people want to work from home 5 days a week. Some of these people want to work from home 1 day a week or 2 or 3, and some people just want the option. So I think that the idea that we can just go back to benefits communication being group meetings and a little pizza party or a box of Krispy Kremes handing out a paper benefit guide, that's dead. And I love this little meme here, but even if you got all your employees in the office, just a paper benefits guide ain't going to cut it anymore. This thing is going in the trash more often than not.
Yeah.
So how do we kind of shift here? We talk a lot, and we have talked a lot in the last 2 years about meeting employees where they are. And there's certainly value in that, meeting employees, whether they're in the office or at home or in a coffee shop or some combination of that. But the way we really move the needle is to meet employees where they want to be met, engage these employees in the ways that make sense to them. So I think about this. I'm a sales guy, so when I'm prospecting, I have to hit people in the media that works for them. It can't just be emails to everybody. Not everybody reads emails. We've got to get better at identifying a few different channels and using all of them to see what works. So Madison touched on this pretty considerably. For years and years and years, we have said, all right, we can do the same thing for all of our employees. We'll ramp up communications 2 weeks before open enrollment. We'll send them all out through email, or we'll post flyers all over the break rooms, and that'll be perfect. And then we'll do it all again next year. But where we have to go is we have to learn how our employees want to communicate with us. Do they want to receive text messages from us? Do they like the newsletter? Do they like email? Do they want to do a one-on-one with a benefits counselor? We've got to put in a plan that is year-round so employees don't dread coming to work in September and getting flooded with the pre-enrollment communications. And then the last piece is something I touched on. It's not enough to have a single channel. We've got to hit people through a variety of different media to see what works for them. And it may be a few different things for a few different people. So one of the things that I want to leave you with today is, what can you do to actually get started after you leave this webinar with all this great information? And I'll be curious, Madison and Melanie, to hear any thoughts you have around this. But these are the things I would recommend, and they don't cost you any money. They may cost you a little time, but you can start today. And that's ask your employees how they want to communicate, and use the tools you have at your disposal today. You can probably do this through your Ben admin. And if you can't, you can send out an email. And if you can't do that, you can make a survey on Google Forms or SurveyMonkey and send that out. But beyond that, once you have that data, you got to commit to using it and really test and learn. The last thing I'll tell you here is that what your employees tell you in that survey data may not be the whole story. So you've got to watch their behavior. If every employee tells you they want email, send those emails, but check the open rates and the click rates and see what people are actually responding to. Send some text and see if those work better. But I think just prioritizing a test and learn kind of environment here with your communications is going to be a great first step to make sure your employees are actually reading them. So with that, Madison, Melanie, anything to add to maybe a few things folks can do to expand their approach?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm talking to folks, I will bring out just an easy way to kind of remember some of the things we talked about, and it's spelled easy, EASY. And as you were talking, it kind of ties some of these together. We say to make your communications to employees emotional, so something that connects to the heart of the employees. Bring them into your purpose, your culture, your values, your vision. Appealing, make it interesting, something you would want to read. Really simplify things, cut out the jargon, get the least word count possible. And then Y, you focus. So that ties into Melanie and Sim's, make it focus on them, how it impacts them, what they need to do. So those are kind of some just easy access kind of pointers that I like to leave groups with, if that's helpful.
Love that.
I think you nailed it.
Indeed. Any questions from the audience here today? Any questions for our panelists? One of the questions that I actually got after our first Terra Talk was, what is a Terra Talk and why are you doing them? Workterra, the name is kind of an Italian name, and it means like foundation or landscape. And so we thought we'd pull together some of the best resources who are in the benefits communication landscape, right? And so we just want to share the resources that we have, though we do benefits administration and navigation. We want to share all of our resources with you guys. So if we can help with benefits navigation, administration, or if any of these communication tools can be a resource for you, reach out to us, or you can see their names. They're active on LinkedIn. You can look them up, or I'll gladly make an introductory email for you. But any other conversations, any other questions for the panelists while they're here?
So Jake, we got a good question in the chat here. Can third parties help with this? I don't think employers have the resources, and I think we have some of those third parties right here. So anyone want to chime in?
Yeah,
I mean, I'll jump. You
go for it.
ahead.
I just spoke.
Cool. Well, I'll say that I can help, and certainly everybody else on this panel can help as well. All that we do in our jobs pretty much is try to bridge the gap between HR teams and their employees, and try to push those communications in a way that is engaging and that can be used year round. So any of us would be happy to help you.
Dude, that's awesome.
I feel the bandwidth, like the people who are responsible for benefits administration are just responsible for 100 million different things. So knowing when to ask for help and knowing what is good to delegate, I think becomes really important for the success in the roles of the people who are responsible for this.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why at Workterra, we don't expect to be the best in the business at every aspect of benefits communication and in the ben admin space. That's why we have amazing partners like you all to help our clients grow and be more effective in their communication. So Madison, Melanie, Sims, thank you guys. You are awesome. We are out of time. Thank you, panelists, for joining in. Great chat. Everybody for participating. These are super fun. I'm glad we're not just talking heads. And please reach out to any or all of us. And we look forward to the next one. So see you guys around. Thank you all.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
It was fun.
Had a blast.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye.